There was a lot for you to learn in part one of Eric Thomas. Part two, even more to learn. You're going to really like it. When you were playing, did you pattern your game after anybody that you saw on tape, or did you just say, "I'm going to do exactly what Dick LeBeau says, and I'm going to do it my own way"? How did that work out for you?
That's a good question. So when I was in high school, I was an Oakland Raider fan, and their best corner was Lester Hayes.
Yep.
And I knew for some reason I couldn't get down like that. You might remember that Will Wise thing. I said that wasn't going to work. So, right. but here's the deal: the year the Raiders went to the Super Bowl, they made a trade and picked up a player, another cornerback, Mike Haynes.
Yep.
Who he, even though Mike was taller than I was, my body was sort of like his. I was more long arm, more linear, and I thought I could play like him. And so I started watching a lot of Mike Haynes, and then he got traded to the Raiders. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was heaven for me, because now one of the players that I'm sort of trying to watch and learn from and see if I can play like that, he's playing for my favorite team. And so Mike Haynes was really the one player who I thought that I could sort of do the same things, even though I didn't really have his height. I didn't have his height, but I had pretty good length for a shorter guy. And I just watched him. He was so smooth. He could make plays without necessarily having to, hit you. He could knock balls down without having to roughhouse you. And I thought, I'm not the most physical guy here, so I could probably do the same thing. And so I sort of patterned my game that, hey, you can make plays, knock balls down, and you don't have to always get down and get down and dirty with it. And but those are the two guys that I watched probably the most. Lester, because of his tenacity, obviously he wore the stickum. I wanted to wear stickum so bad. I wanted to wear stickum so bad, Dave. By the time I get football, it's outlawed. Oh my God. Oh my God. But that was but Mike Haynes really, even when I think about him today, my game was a lot like that. He can get in your hip pocket and really run with you. He was a taller guy, much taller. Maybe 2 inches taller than me, but for him to be so fluid, for being such a tall linear athlete, it was impressive. I said, if he can be that fluid, I can too. I was probably a little bit more explosive than Mike Haynes, but he had the height and length,
Right. Okay, so who was the guy? Who was the opponent where, oh man, this dude, man, it's going to be a long day at the office. This dude, every snap, he's going to be a load, man. Who was the opponent? Who was the guy that, was the toughest, the biggest challenge?
Well, as you know, at the time, the Tennessee Titans were the Houston Oilers at the time. And Houston didn't have a guy, but the guy was the quarterback.
Yeah, they had a scheme.
The guy was a guy throwing the ball, and we play the Houston Oilers twice a year, and just from a athletic standpoint, a physical standpoint of the challenge that we had every week, it was that team, because they were throwing it 40 times, and they had 4 receivers, and he was going to throw it to them.
Right.
It wasn't like you think that they may throw this, may not. They're going to throw their routes. Right. There was no choice, and so going and playing them for twice a year and playing against Warren Moon for those years was the greatest challenge, because we're talking about a guy that had a fantastic arm. I mean, people don't have no idea the kind of the beautiful balls that he threw and the velocity that ball would be coming, and just the way he would place it. He placed that ball right in those guys' hands. But they had Ernest Givens and Haywood Jeffries. They had Drew Hill. They had this guy named another guy named Hill. They were just really stacked across the board. So it wasn't the one guy that was physically. I matched up against Drew Hill, and then I matched up against Ernest Givens. So because I played slot corner. So when you play against those guys, they're moving now. They're motioning from one side to the other side, and they're giving you some serious juice too. I mean, both of these guys were first round picks. Both of them really talented. So for me to go into that game, I mean, I feel like I got to go in and be really, really on my game. Those are the games that we were more focused than anything. Even Dick as a coach was more focused when we played the Houston Oilers than anyone else, because of the passing game. And they were going to throw it 40 times. That's the defensive back's responsibility. But he gave us everything he taught us, all the motioning, handling motion as a corner, handling motion, return motion, all that stuff, man. He taught me so much. And that's kind of things that I don't even teach my guys the return motion stuff because we don't, high school, they don't do it enough.
Yeah.
I hadn't even got to the point where I taught them because they don't do it enough for us to have to worry about it. But Houston was just really, really good. It wasn't that they were good. It was who they had running and the trigger man. Warren Moon, again, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks ever. Clearly, he's in the Hall of Fame, so we know that.
Okay, so let's fast forward to this this edition of the Bengals coming up in the 2023 season. The question mark offensively, they 10 returning starters, but the starter at right tackle, that's the question mark. Who's going to be that guy at the right tackle position? Defensively, 8 returning starters. The 3 that are non-returning starters are all in the secondary, 2 safeties and a corner. What do you think? I mean, as you look at what they've got at the cornerback position, what they've got at the safety position, do you feel pretty good? You got Lou Anarumo, who's very, very similar to Dick LeBeau in so many areas, so many ways.
Yes,
do you have confidence that Lou and the talent will get it figured out in the back end?
I do. I think that one thing about Louis, again, you make that comparison to Dick. He's a lot like Dick. He understands that we have to we play in our secondary. Their main job is to make sure we don't let them throw the ball over our head. We have to protect the deep. When you had 2 experienced safeties, Jessie Bates and Von Bell, you can do that more consistently. Now you got younger players. Dax Hill is going to start this year. He's going to be placed as a starter. He's going to have to hold it down. Cam Taylor-Britt, I'm convinced, is going to be a top flight corner.
Right.
Just all the experience he got last year, playing in really, really huge games. He's going to respond this year. The young kid they drafted from Michigan. I think when you got that kind of speed, you can play outside. He's gonna be good. I think the other free agent corner they picked up, I think the kid from Philly or Green Bay. I think they have the pieces. The experience is going to have to help up front until the secondary gets very comfortable with what they're doing in terms of when they know how to play with one another. But I think that Louis, man, I don't question him because I know schematically he's going to give them a scheme that's going to be fantastic for them. And I think that last year we've had a chance to see it. We saw players go down. I was sure that when they lost to Wouzier, they were in trouble. I mean, I was convinced that when Wouzier went down, I said, I don't know what they're going to do. And think about this. If Louis can put together a scheme that can actually protect Eli Apple, I mean, and when I say that's not a slight on Eli. I'm just saying Eli Apple struggled as a corner, and if he can put together a scheme that can really protect him and keep and where teams can't attack him by himself, I think that he can do that with younger players. They just have to trust what he's doing, what he's telling them to do. Dick did that with us, but he said, "Look, I trust him," but he trusts him because you see him in practice doing it. That's why, and I think that I got a feeling that this team's going to be good. It's not a defensive-led team, which is I think that they should be fortunate that this offense is responsible for going out and getting points. And if they score 24 points, the Bengals should win a lot of games. If they can get 24 points a game, they should win a lot of football games. Now it's going to come down to how the defense hold up. I think they'll hold up in the run game. When you talk about your new secondary players, young secondary players, they're going to see stuff that they've never seen. Teams scheme you up pretty good when they know you're new out there. So if they can just hold that part of it down, I think they're going to be fine. The offensive line, I think they've got enough pieces in now that they can put guys and place guys. You know this, the same guys that play guard. Some of these guys that play tackle. So I think they just got to find out who their best guys are, their best 5 guys are, and then say, let's see if we can find 2 to 3 reliable backups. And I think when you look at what they have something like that.
No doubt. And back to the secondary, I mean, at the safety position, Nick Scott, they pick up from the Rams. He started against the Bengals in the Super Bowl that the Rams won. I mean, here's a guy that's got NFL snaps, significant NFL snaps at the safety position, and they draft Jordan Battle from Alabama, and Saban saying he's the smartest, most dedicated. He was throwing just all kinds of praise his way, and Saban doesn't do that. He was talking about Jordan Battle like he's the greatest football player ever, and this kid watching him, ET at minicamp stuff, man, he's directing traffic, making the calls.
That's right. You
like
watched him in Alabama. This kid was really good. I was really surprised that he stuck around and they were able to get him. He's a very good player. You know, something that's what I just told you about what's the next step with the players. You know, you want to get players that you know have it here.
Yep.
And when I say that, I'm not to say that the guys got even if you're book smart, you have to have a football IQ.
Right on.
One's not the other. I remember having a conversation with Ray Horton back during the Super Bowl anniversary thing a couple years ago, and I was asking Ray, was he going to continue to coach? And Ray said one of the problems ET with coaching, he said you can't get. He said I got a linebacker, two linebackers, one from Notre Dame, the other from Northwestern, and they're running a banjo on the tight end and on the tight end in the back.
Uh-huh.
He said, and I couldn't get him to do it. He said, and we're talking about two kids from Notre Dame, another kid from Northwestern. So he said, what I'm telling you is that book smarts has nothing to do with football IQ. And I thought about that, and it's absolutely true. And I try to tell my kids that when I'm coaching them, say, look, you don't have to be the smartest kid in the classroom to be a very smart football player. One's not the other. Right. I said, could it help? Yeah. It could help. I said, but ultimately, it's not the same thing. And so, I think I've learned that, and I understand that now better than I did years ago. You know, because you think a guy from some big time school, Vanderbilt, he's got it. Yeah, the guy got no football IQ, and it makes a difference. So I think coaches and try to see if you continue to raise that level in players, because that's ultimately what you get the most out of.
No question. It's great to have both, but if you have to pick one, I'd take that football IQ all day, every day.
Dave, you can't get a guy to understand the little thing about what you're trying to teach about football. He's got no chance to learn the big stuff. You can forget about it. So, but it's exciting in that way, though.
There's nothing worse for a coach, I'm sure, where, man, I got to dumb it down because of this guy. And you try to find somebody to replace that guy as quickly as you can, because everybody else understands. This one guy makes you dumb it down where you can't do what you want to do. Can't have that, man.
I mean, your scheme's dead. Your scheme is dead if you have to do that. And we talk to our guys, and we tell our guys that, hey, if we can't teach you what to do, and if you think we're going to change everything up to fit you in, we're not doing that. We're going to go on to the next guy. We have to. Yep. I said, because here's the deal. Because if you want to get better, you have to work on it. You have to take the time to spend more time studying. You have to spend more time looking at huddle and studying film. And some kids do it, and the kids that do it, we've seen their game really expand. And the guys that don't, get him out. Get him out.
Next. Yep. Next man up.
That's right.
E.T., I can't thank you enough. You were gracious with your time. I know you got workouts coming up with the kids. I should say young men. They're not kids. These guys are players, man.
Yes, they are.
I admire and respect what you're doing and how you're doing it. Man, you're having a huge, huge influence on so many young lives. You got to be proud, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I mean, really, when you coach football, particularly at the high school level, you don't do it for money. It's not about what you can get financially. You just want those guys to be able to have the opportunity, the same opportunity I had to go off to college. And then once you go off to college, man, the sky's the limit, man. I mean, you may go to college and get in with football and go into something totally different. So I told those guys, take the opportunity. Use the opportunity to try to see if you can take the burden off your parents and your family by getting a free ride scholarship and going and taking advantage of it. Same thing I did. I said, you don't have no idea where it's going to take you. The college experience is one that's so unusual that, when it's all said and done, you say, man, where would I be if I hadn't gone there and taken that and taken that experience? So for me, man, it's a blessing. I love what I do, and I'm loving life right now, Lap. Loving it.
You deserve it, E.T.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate you, my man.
Have a great day today with the kids.
That I will, Coach. Hey, when it gets closer to the season, let's do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again for sure.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Lap.
You're the best. Thanks, E.T.
Much love, brother.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.